I just want to ask you two quick controversial questions, if that's okay, regarding healing.
Yeah.
Ready? Okay. The first one, when you talk about either Eastern Orthodox or Catholic type of healings, when either Virgin Mary or saints are involved, do you get any negative feedback and pushback from us Protestants, evangelical believers? You're also one of us. And the second, well, yeah, first, if you can please answer that, and then I'll ask you the second
Yeah.
controversial
So
question.
I actually really haven't, to be honest, and I'm surprised, right? Because I would expect to get more, but I don't really know what to do with those, to be honest. I say in the book, I throw my hands up and I say, I don't know what to think of these because my theology doesn't really agree with it, but I also want to try to be not as biased. I want to be as least biased as I can, as unbiased as I can. And so there are sometimes things where I just say, like, I don't really know. And I can see why people would just hold judgment. When I was on Cameron Bertuzzi's show on Capturing Christianity, the last case we talked about was one where the Virgin Mary allegedly appeared in a Orthodox, on top of an Orthodox church. And there's photographs of it. I go into that there.
I
And
saw it. It was amazing.
yeah,
It
yeah, it
was
is. And
amazing.
I
I
said I
saw
don't.
it.
And I said I don't know what to think. Like, there's part of me that's like, well, if you're going to grant this was something supernatural, let's just grant that. If it was an angel, right? I've had Protestants, well, that maybe it was an angel people thought was Mary. It's like that's true. Although it seems weird that God would let people just falsely believe that they'd be under this grave misapprehension. He wouldn't correct it. He wouldn't make it more obvious that, oh, I'm not the Virgin Mary, I'm an angel, right? And so people really believed this. And so does God just not want to correct it if it's a false belief? So I don't really know what to think. And I think it's really fascinating. And part of that scares me because I know that the Catholic Church, even though this was an Orthodox miracle, but the Catholic Church says that if you don't affirm the Assumption of Mary, then the wrath of Saint Peter and John will be on you in Judgment Day. So part of that does give me a little bit of anxiety, but part of it's also fascinating to me, and I think it's intriguing, and I want to learn more. And the mystery just makes me think harder about it. So no, I have not had Protestants. Not many of them have pushed back on that. They're most like, well, God can heal people. It's not that surprising. Most of my friends, at least, are like, yeah, Catholics are Christians. We're not going to call them cults or anything like that, right? It's a little extreme. Although I have had a few Catholics who've pushed back and said, well, no, these are clearly, Caleb, this is evidence for Catholicism, right? You should become Catholic because saints praying for people, Mary, like, come on, why aren't you Catholic, Caleb, if you think there's such good evidence for some Catholic miracles? And I don't know. I think that it goes both ways. I think there's miracles on both sides, and I'm not sure that God is trying to vindicate any particular denomination here. So it's not strong enough for me to be Catholic, at least. But I've had Catholics who get more upset at me for not converting to Catholicism because of that than I have had Protestants for me talking about it. So it's funny.
Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised. I was expecting some of the hardcore Protestants, especially coming from the Reform side, to come and say, "Hey, just because supposedly Virgin Mary showed herself to someone, it could be demonic manifestation." Just as we know, Paul was warning us that the Satan can portray himself as the angel of light, or like, hey, some healings, even though they happen, even Satan has some supernatural abilities. That doesn't mean it was God. So I was expecting, some of that pushback that you get in your work so far. But if you didn't get, I guess that's good.
Yeah, and I
And my
don't ever like saying it's Satan because anyone can pull that card. Any religion you don't like can say, "Well, your religion is satanic and the devil is doing it," right? I don't think it gets you anywhere.